GTA 6 is currently the most anticipated game around the world right now, with countless amounts of people ready to ignore their families, quit their jobs, and hibernate for weeks the second it drops this November, assuming it doesn't get delayed. Again. But for most JRPG fans, that title easily belongs to Persona 6. And honestly, it's no surprise. Atlus Games has been putting out literal masterpiece after masterpiece, dropping games like Persona 5 Royale, Metaphor ReFantazio, and the Persona 3 remake these past couple of years. Frankly, the studio is on a legendary run. However, despite all that glory and success, Atlus has legitimately gone MIA when it comes to Persona 6. The fanbase, myself included, have practically drained the entire world supply of copium waiting for a logo, a teaser, anything. So how did a game that hasn't even been announced yet become the GTA 6 of the JRPG world? And more importantly, can it live up to the hype? For context, if you don't know what the Persona series is about, to put it simply, you play as Japanese high schoolers fighting manifestations of nightmares from the collective human subconscious, using nightmare monsters of your own that you and your party members summon through the means of either ripping a mask off your face, crushing a tarot card, or in the most extreme case, blowing your f***ing head off with a pistol. Outside of combat, it's also a life sim with a strict calendar system where every action burns huge amounts of time off the clock, forcing you to be mindful of what you do on any given day. Whether that be hanging out with people in and out of your party, trying to get a girlfriend or boyfriend.
Tonight, you're going to listen to my needs, and I'm not gonna let you be lazy about it.
Or folding envelopes for hours at a time. The world is really your oyster. Every Persona game follows this formula and adds different twists, with each game having a unique theme, settings, and entirely new soundtracks that are such bangers that Atlus's sound team has over 2.7 million monthly listeners on Spotify. As wacky as the premise for these games sounds, Atlus has been refining the Persona formula since 1996. Well, technically they have, but let's be real. Most Persona fans pretend Persona 1 and 2 don't exist. However, once that modern style finally clicked, people really started paying attention. I mean, the hype got so real that Persona 4 Golden managed to sell over 1 million copies on the PS Vita, a handheld console that was practically dead on arrival. That level of cult following is exactly why the series recently celebrating hitting over 20 million sales worldwide, transforming it from a niche turn-based JRPG into a global juggernaut. Which leads me to Persona 5, one of my favorite games of all time, as well as one of the highest rated games in all of Metacritic with a staggering Metascore of 95. Keep in mind, this beats out the likes of games like Player Obscure Expedition 33, Last of Us Part 2, and God of War Ragnarok, to show that, holy shit, Atlus was really cooking with gas on this one. And this is not to say that turn-based games weren't popular or mainstream before Persona 5, but Persona 5, like Arc Raiders has in recent times, exposed to a more mainstream audience the magic of its genre.
Oh, that was sick.
Since at the time Persona 5 was releasing in the mid-2010s, everybody and their mom thought that turn-based games were unkslop. Whether it be because the genre was perceived as outdated and uncool, or simply because massive Western action RPGs like Skyrim were completely dominating the spotlight at that time. However, once Persona 5 dropped, newcomers finally began to understand why turn-based games are awesome. It was the feeling of being in total control of the chaos, the pure satisfaction of finding out an enemy's weakness and using it to absolutely steamroll them, and eventually creating some of the most busted ass builds the world has ever seen. But considering the only scrap of news we've gotten lately from Atlus is a Persona themed DLC for a fitness boxing game, you can start to see where the GTA 6 comparisons come in. Because if we look at the timeline, it is actually insane. Persona 5 was the main event for the series' 20th anniversary. Now here we are for the 30th. And in that gap, there has been 3 US presidential elections, a global pandemic, the rise and fall of NFTs, and Bethesda has re-released Skyrim about 67 times at this point. Both franchises have effectively skipped an entire console generation, and during that hiatus, both studios decided to milk a single game for all it was worth. Rockstar found an infinite money glitch in GTA 5 called GTA Online, allowing them to abandon single-player games, besides Red Dead Redemption 2 of course, and DLC, while they sold shark cards to kids terrorizing lobbies on flying motorcycles. Atlus, on the other hand, went down the content farm route. Persona 5 has seen 4 different spin-off games and 1 re-release, giving us Persona 5 Royal, Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, Persona 5 Strikers, Persona 5 Tactica, and of course a gacha game and Persona 5 The Phantom X. We even got a full remake of Persona 3 and an entirely new IP in Metaphor ReFantazio. They have given us literally everything except Persona 6. And just like GTA 6, Persona 6 has been cursed with what I like to call the Half-Life 3 effect. This is what happens when a sequel to a generational game takes so long to come out that the game ceases to be a video game and becomes a myth of legend, with our expectations for it going past the bounds of human imagination. It is the definition of suffering from success, because GTA GTA 5 and Persona 5 didn't just sell well. GTA 5 set the golden standard for the open world sandbox, creating a world so lived in that people are still playing it 13 years later. And it has taken over a decade for games like Cyberpunk 2077 to even attempt to challenge the throne. And Persona 5 did the same for turn-based games. It took a genre that the West had written off as niche and gave it so much swagger that it forced the entire industry to respect the command menu again. Both GTA 5 and Persona 5 set the bar into the stratosphere, offering hundreds of hours of quality content that players are still obsessed with. So the question for the developers, and the reason for the wait, is simple. How do you follow up near perfection? Is it even possible to make a game that provides more outside of a graphical uplift? These games are honestly too good for their own good. And what makes the wait for Persona 6 even more enticing is that the turn-based genre has constantly been evolving, with games like Clear Obscure Expedition 33, Fire Emblem, and the Like a Dragon series pushing the genre forward to new heights. So Persona 6 doesn't just have to compete with the quality of Persona 5. It has to blow our socks off in a market more competitive than a high elo CS2 lobby. In fact, I can't think of any other JRPG that comes remotely close to this level of hype, besides maybe Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, which will be fucking epic by the way. So calling Persona 6 the GTA 6 of JRPGs, at least in my opinion, comes with some lofty expectations. That is, if the game actually exists. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and lets me know you guys are enjoying the content. Anyways, now I have to cut Atlus Games some slack since they never even announced Persona 6. And if you're asking me fresh out of the copium tank, I don't think they're releasing the game for a long time. But just like Rockstar, who spent nearly a decade quietly crafting Red Dead Redemption 2 into one of the best games ever made, Atlus has been absolutely cooking in the kitchen, sweating over the stove even. The biggest proof of this is Metaphor ReFantazio. I know I keep bringing this game up, but winning Best RPG and selling over 1 million copies in under 24 hours prove that Atlus can successfully evolve their signature style for modern hardware. It was effectively a greatest hits collection of every mechanic that makes them one of the kings of the turn-based genre. And while they were building that new IP, they didn't let their main franchises rot, giving us the Persona 3 remake and the Persona 5 spin-off games of course, a couple of Shin Megami Tensei games, and if the rumors are true, we're looking at a Persona 4 remake potentially hitting in late 2026. When you actually take a step back and look at that release schedule, it's clear Atlus never let their foot off the gas. In fact, they've been pressing down even harder, so I can't really blame them for taking their sweet time on Persona 6 since the spin-off games and remakes aren't just content. They are the financial engine that allows future projects like Persona 6 to sit in the oven without the studio going bankrupt. But because of their consistent track record of quality release after quality release, it just makes the hype for Persona 6 even scarier. However, if their recent library of games is any indication, it's that Atlus is nowhere near losing their edge. We are talking about the only devs in the industry who can take a static pause screen and make it addictively fun to interact with. So when you combine their unmatched style with the depth of combat and gameplay systems in their games, you realize that we have nothing to worry about. Atlus absolutely knows what they're doing. So is Persona 6 the GTA 6 of JRPGs? Yeah. It absolutely is. And considering the absolute heater Atlus has been on for the last decade, I think the wait is going to be worth every single second. But I want to know what you guys think. And what do you actually want to see from Persona 6? You want a college setting? Do you want to stay in high school? Or do you want the game to actually exist? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. We are trying to hit 200 subs before Persona 6 is announced, so every sub helps. Also, check out the videos on screen if you want to see more videos like this one where I'm talking about video games. And you can also catch me streaming over on YouTube and Twitch. Stay safe. Moment out. Peace.